वेब शेयर कर देगी।
हाँ
Maybe. Okay, good afternoon to all of you. So we shall now move to the powers of the president. We have already discussed it. The powers last class. We went up to the legislative power of the president. We had discussed everything related to president, the impeachment and other things. Conditions of office, vacancy arises in certain circumstances, and what happens when vacancy arises in the office of the president. That is also we have also discussed the powers to some extent, executive and legislative powers. In legislative powers, we have discussed that the president summons and prorogues the parliament and dissolves the Lok Sabha. He assents certain bills before their introduction. We have taken a very long list of the bills, that is money bill, financial bill, taxation bills affecting the states, state bills imposing restrictions upon trade and commerce, creation of new state and alteration of boundaries and names of the states. All these kind of bills need prior recommendation of the president. It goes to be introduced after the president recommends them, and finally also he recommends or he assents the bill after it is passed by the parliament. So every bill that is passed by parliament is to be assented by the president, no doubt, but certain bills that require prior recommendation. So we have taken a list of all these bills. You have must have seen. We have already mentioned the bills like money bill and your other bills. Then he lays the report of certain offices like Comptroller, Auditor General of India, Union Public Service Commission, Finance Commission, Commissions on Backward Classes, SC and ST, and other also certain commissions, Office Election Commission of India, other commissions report also submitted by him to the Parliament annually. He has the power to give his assent, that is called veto powers, that we will discuss. And another thing, that he has legislative power to certain union territories of Andaman Nicobar, Lakshadweep, Dadra Nagar Haveli and Daman Diu. In case of Puducherry, he has also the power of legislation, provided the legislative assembly is suspended or dissolved at the time. So these are the important points of legislative powers, and he also summons the joint sitting. We have already discussed under Article 108. The president summons a joint sitting, but joint sitting can be summoned only on an ordinary bill when there is a disagreement between the two houses. There can be no joint sitting on money bill and constitutional amendment bills. And he also nominates to 12 members from arts, science, literature and social service to Rajya Sabha periodically. And these are the kind of legislative powers. He also appoints speaker pro tem at the time when there is a vacancy in the offices of the speaker and deputy speaker. Also he appoints chairman pro tem when there is a vacancy in the offices of the chairman and deputy chairman of Rajya Sabha. Okay, and he also addresses under Article 87 of Indian Constitution. The President can address the Parliament at the commencement of the first session of after each general election, and also at the first session of each year, that is budget session. So these are the essential legislative powers. We have already taken a note of all these things. I hope all of you have gone through the class well and understood the basics of President's power. We shall now move to financial powers of the president. President enjoys lots of financial powers. First of all, he lays the annual financial statement, that is popularly known as budget, before the parliament. It is the president whose prior recommendation is required for introduction of budget, because Budget is in fact a monetary provisions and a compilation of, or or you can say a congregation of certain bills, money bills. Okay, another thing, money bills cannot be introduced in the parliament without his prior recommendation. It can also be added in financial powers. He constitutes a finance commission every 5 years to recommend the distribution of revenues between the center and states, so that ensures federal financial prudence and federal financial balance. So president appoints a finance commission periodically, that is every 5 years. So far 15 finance commissions have been set up by president, and that is also a financial power of the president. And he can also, we have not mentioned here, we can mention here that you can say he recommends or you can say he makes advance from the consolidated contingency fund of India. Kindly remember, the contingency fund of India is an emergency fund kept at the disposal of the president, and he ensures advance from the contingency fund of India when the executive requires money pending the pending that when the parliament is not in session. So it is an emergency fund. The corpus of the fund is 30,000 crore at present. So it is the president who makes, and you can say this fund means this contingency fund is kept at the disposal of the president, and no single money can be drawn from the consolidated fund of India without the prior recommendation of the president. He assents it. So president is the sole authority on financial matters. He has lots of power, we have seen, that is financial powers. Then we shall come to ordinance making power. Ordinance is an executive law. Ordinance means executive legislation or executive legislation. That means executive law. It is issued by president. It is issued by president or promulgated by president under Article 1, 2, 3. Under Article 1, 2, 3, when number one, when the either house, the parliament is not in session, either house is not in session. So in two circumstances, president can issue ordinance when the entire both the houses are not in session. That is possible opportunity or possible time for president to promulgate ordinance, but he can also issue ordinance when the either house is not in session. If one house is not in session, the president can issue promulgate ordinance because a bill becomes an act after it is passed by two houses. So in both the circumstances, president can issue ordinances. Then the president promulgates ordinances on the same matter, on the same subjects on which the Parliament of India, the Parliament of India is authorized to make law. Hence, the ordinance making power is coextensive with the legislative power of the President. Legislative power of the Parliament. Coextensive means President can make legislation only on those matters on which the Parliament is authorized to make legislation. For this reason, the ordinance making power of the President is coextensive with the legislative power of the President ବୋଲି କୁହାଯାଏ. Okay. Then such ordinance must be approved by the Parliament within 6 weeks from the date of its reassembly. When the Parliament meets, from within 6 weeks the ordinance has to be approved, otherwise the ordinance will lapse. Must be approved. So we can say the ordinance making power of the President is not a parallel law making power. President doesn't have the power, executive doesn't have the power to make legislation without the approval of the Parliament in the long run. So that is also a point to be remember, that ordinance making power is not a parallel law making power of the executive. It is subject to approval by the Parliament. The Parliament has to approve it within 6 weeks, otherwise it will lapse. So at best ordinance can survive without parliamentary approval for a period of 6 months, 6 weeks, because this 6 months gap can be also maintained. So ordinance has the same effect of law. It has the same effect of law made by the Parliament. It is also issued in certain circumstances. Okay, and such ordinances was there introduced in 1861 Council Act, Indian Council Act. Ordinance making was a power given to the Viceroy of India, and he could issue ordinances when Parliament is not in session without the approval for 6 months. That was there, but here it is 6 weeks from the date of its reassembly. And kindly remember that ordinance making power is not a parallel law making power of the President. Okay, ordinance is provided in 123. Let me tell you here, the governor has also the ordinance making power under Article 213, and it is also in the same procedure as in case of President. Okay, so he can issue ordinance. President can issue ordinance not to union list, concurrent list, and in certain times he can also issue ordinance on state list when emergency is there or anything. Okay, that is the ordinance making power of the President. Okay, that is the 2 points of the financial emergency Financial powers, 2 points here are noticeable. 2 points of financial points are here visible, so you can add that. All right, now we shall move to the judicial powers of the president. Judicial powers of the president, how president is related to judiciary. President is omnipresent. President is ubiquitous. He goes into every part. He is associated with every part, every organ of the government. So president is the first of all. President is the protector, preserver of the law and legal system. He is the protector, preserver of the constitution. So in this capacity, he has a lot of things to do. He appoints the Chief Justice of India and Chief Judges of the Supreme Court and High Court. He appoints the Chief Justice of India, the Chief Justices of High Courts, and also the judges of Supreme Court and High Court. He doesn't appoint the district judges who are appointed by the governor. And another noticeable power is that he can seek advice from the Supreme Court on any question of law or fact under Article 143. However, advice tendered by the Supreme Court is not binding upon him. And he has also called a pardoning power, or a power to grant pardon. Pardon, commutation, grant pardon, commutation, remission, respite, reprieve. So five kinds of pardons. Any person in cases where the punishment or sentence is by court martial, where the punishment or sentence is for offense against union law, where the sentence is a sentence of death, or the pardoning power of the president is independent of the judiciary. Any law, central law, state law, martial law, president can issue ordinances, issue pardons on any convict, on any victim, on a victim of any law prevalent in India, and that is called mercy petitions. The president entertains mercy petitions from the accused and decides on his own whether the person would be granted pardon or not. So it is the basic objective of the pardoning power is to rectify unintentional judicial error. So sometimes judiciary may commit some mistake and may reward punishment to an innocent person. So in order to relieve the innocent persons from the scourge of law or scourge of sentence, he can relieve him of the punishment if he finds that the person is not guilty of the real in real sense, or if the person is not is innocent. So that is the kind of pardon under Article 72. Under Article 72 of the Constitution, the president has the power to grant pardons. We shall discuss pardon in a separate light. Okay, so these are the judicial powers of the president. Judicial powers re we shall see the appointment of the judges, appointment of the Chief Justice of India, appointment of the Chief Justices of High Court. He also appoints the Lokpal of India and the members that can be also be considered a part of the judicial act. He also appoints certain law commissions in India periodically for bringing reforms in the law. So we can add some points also in case of judicial powers. And under judicial powers, there is also a content that contains there is also called a pardoning power of the president. I told you pardoning power of the president is mentioned in Article 72 of the Constitution. And president grants pardons, different types of pardons you can see from the screen. Kindly remember the Article 72. And president grants pardons really that is call your pardons, commutation, remission, and respite, reprieve. So that is also a kind of pardon. So in pardon, what happens? the offender is completely set free. He is completely set free. That means he is completely absolved from the punishment, from the sentence, and he can grant pardon in case of death sentence also. He can grant grant pardon grant pardon on capital punishment or death sentence. That is a unique power of the president. So, in case of pardon one offense, any offense, suppose a person is sentenced with life imprisonment or any term for an imprisonment for a particular term or any type of sentence, if the person is convicted or is sentenced, then the president can grant pardon, and when the person avails himself the pardon, he will get free from the sentence. Then commutation is also a type of pardon. It substitutes one harsher punishment to lighter form. So if a person is granted with certain time of death sentence, then he can relieve him from the death sentence to life term or any term for imprisonment for any particular term. Okay. So in commutation, what happens? There is a reduct substitution with for harsher punishment with lighter punishment. If a person is sentenced with a rigorous imprisonment for 10 years, then he can change it into simple imprisonment for 10 years. So that is called commutation. Then remission is a kind of pardon that aims to reduce the amount of sentence or the period of sentence without changing the character of the punishment. If a person is punished with rigorous imprisonment for 10 years, then the president, if grants remission, then the period of 10 years will be reduced to 5 year or 7 year, 3 year, whatever it may be. So in case of remission, what happens? Shortened, the duration is shortened or the duration is reduced without changing the character of the punishment, means the nature of the punishment. So the rigorous will remain rigorous, but the period will be reduced. Then in case of respite also, President grants respite, a kind of pardon which is granted in special circumstances of the victim or of the accused. So if the accused is in pregnancy or is a disabled person or any type of that sort of things, then the president can grant him respite. In respite, he can grant commutation or remissions. He can shorten the duration or he can substitute the harsher punishment with lighter one. So he can do anything under respite. But remember, respite is not given to normal persons. It is given to persons in special circumstances like pregnancy and disability. In case of reprieve, the suspension of death order and temporary suspension of death order is out, and the victim or the accused can move the other court, or move the court again for redecisions, for reopening of the cases and decide redecisions. So that is also reprieve. So we have seen that president grants pardon under Article 72, and the pardons are of five kinds. There pardon, commutation, remission, respite, and reprieve. What happens under each of the pardon we have noticed. So kindly remember that it is, and the president grants through avails through entertaining mercy petitions. Mercy petitions are forwarded to presidential office for deciding on this own. So many presidents have granted pardon maximum times, and that is also a point to be remembered. So pardon is a kind of legal mechanism, or it is a relief to the accused or to the person who has been that is falsely accused or falsely sentenced. Okay, so that is the things Then we have discussed, not discussed the military power also. Yes, there are certain powers. How could he? Different powers. Okay. Then we shall move to diplomatic powers. In diplomatic powers, the president is the head of the state, and has the power to conclude international treaties and agreements, and in his name the international treaties and agreements are signed. However, they are subject to approval of the parliament. So, president is not the sole authority to sign it. The parliament also needs to approve, and he represents India in international forums. He sends and receives diplomats, ambassadors, high commissioners. He appoints them. He appoints ambassadors and high commissioners, ambassadors for non-Commonwealth countries, and high commissioners for Commonwealth countries. So this is are called the he receives the foreign heads. He receives the foreign heads. So these kind of are the diplomatic powers. Got it? So this is kind of diplomatic powers of the president. Then he has also certain military powers. In fact, president is the supreme law commander of law. President is the supreme commander of armed forces, as you have must have read it somewhere. The president is the supreme commander of the armed forces. He has a lot of duty on that. He declares wars. He declares wars and concludes peace. President declares wars and concludes peace. Okay, so that is the kind of things you have to remember. Then he also appoints the chiefs of army, navy, and air force. He also okay, and he can also declare war and conclude peace. That is also a kind of things you have to remember. So we have already discussed military powers, and he also appoints the chiefs of the paramilitary forces like CRPF and your SSB, other paramilitary bodies. So he has a lot of powers. First thing is the supreme commander of the defense forces. So that is military powers. Then he has also military emergency powers. It is called emergency power of the president. In addition to normal powers, the President of India enjoys extraordinary power to deal with the following types of emergencies. And he can declare three kinds of emergency under the Constitution of India. One is the national emergency under Article 352 and President's rule under Article 356 and financial emergency under Article 360. The emergency powers of the executive were mentioned in the Government of India Act 1935, and it empowers the president to deal with contingent situations or some extraordinary situations when the country is faced with certain internet or certain problems, beset with problems or beset with some threats or some grounds. There are various grounds on which he can. But remember the president. can issue ordinances only on the recommendations or only on the written recommendation of the president. Here also a notice to be there, that is on the basis of written recommendations of the Union Cabinet. So prior to 44th Amendment Act 1978, it was not there, but 44th Amendment Act 1978 made the president declare national emergency only when he receives the written recommendations, written approval from the Union Cabinet headed by the Prime Minister. So prior to that, it was provided that president could declare national emergency only on the saying of only on the say of the prime minister, but it is now possible. But in case of president's rule and financial emergency, there is no such provisions added. So president can issue president's rule, promulgate president's rule, or declare financial emergency on the advice of the prime minister only. It is not provided whether the union cabinet written recommendation is essential for this, whatever it may be, but it arms the executive with an extraordinary power to deal with certain contingent situation in the country, thereby securing the unity and integrity of the nation. Okay, so emergency is a unitary provisions, no doubt, but it purports to strengthen the unity and integrity of the country and to protect or secure the sovereignty of the country. So therefore, emergency power is an essential power in the hands of the president, and it is that, and he can suspend certain fundamental rights. We shall discuss a lot about the procedure and the impact or the effects of emergency towards the end of the syllabus, towards the end of the session. Okay, so for the timing, remember, emergency power is also a vital power of the president of India. Then we have already discussed legislative power. So in between the legislative power, we have already discussed that president has the power to assent a bill, and that power to assent is called veto power of the president. President has the power to either give his assent to the bill or withhold his assent, or without president's assent, a bill cannot become an act. In this regard, president has three veto powers. So veto means power to assent or power to reject the bills. He can power issue absolute veto. He can issue absolute veto. So that is a kind of thing also, absolute veto. And you can see that president's that is president's veto is veto power. We can say that is veto power of the president. So in case of absolute veto, he can withhold his assent to a bill passed by the parliament. Then the bill ends and does not become an act. Usually the veto is exercised in the following two cases. Kotala, with respect to your private member's bill, and also with respect to government, with respect to with respect to um, public bill. In 1954, Rajendra Prasad was the first person. 1954, Rajendra Prasad. Rajendra Prasad was the first president to issue absolute veto on PEPSU appropriation bill. So that is also a kind of bill that he was bill was passed by the parliament when the president rule is in operation in the state of Pepsu, but when the bill presented to the president for his assent, the president rule was revoked. Again in 1991, R. Venkatraman, R. Venkataraman issued on MP's salary and MP's salary, pension allowances, pension bill, allowances, pension bill. He had also mailed the bill was passed by the parliament on the last day before the dissolution of Lok Sabha without obtaining the previous recommendation of the president. So as it was a money bill, it had to have the prior recommendation of the president, but that was neglected, that was violated at that time. Hence, President Bar Venkatraman in 1991 could not veto the could not assent the bill. He issued absolute veto on that. He withheld the bills. So there are the kind of things. Uh, uh, okay, so that is the things. Then these are the things. Then your suspensive veto. In case of suspensive veto, the president can return the bill for the reconsideration of president. But if again the bill is passed by the parliament, that too in simple majority, that too in simple majority, so that too in simple majority, if the bill is passed by simple majority again. But in case of America, there is a higher majority is required. The president does not possess this veto in case of money bill, so he cannot no money bill he cannot issue, not in case of money bill. And there is no veto on constitutional amendment bill also. So এটা ordinary bill ଆଉ money bill দুইটা ক্ষেত্রে ଯିବ. So that is also a kind. Normally the president gives his assent to a money bill as it is introduced in parliament with its previous permission. So he cannot return the bill. Usually he does not do anything with the money bill, but there is a provision he cannot return. It is suspensive veto. Remember, it is issued every time. Then pocket veto. Pocket veto with regards to that is president can sit over the bill or can procrastinate his decision, can postpone his decision. He may not give anything like that. So that is pocket veto, and it is only on ordinary bill. It is ordinary bill and also money bill. You can money bill also add. So he can sit over the bill for an indefinite period. The president can exercise this veto as the constitution does not prescribe in time limit. So he can put up the bill, put up his assent to the bill for an indefinite period. In comparison to American president, he has a lot of pocket veto because the American president can put up his assent to a bill only for 10 days, but Indian president can make it for an indefinite period. That is also a point to be remembered. And he does not say anything. He does not give anything. That is also the point to be remembered. In 1986, Gyani Jail Singh, Gyani Jail Singh, the president of India, exercised his power on India Post Office Bill, Indian Post Office Bill, Indian Post Office Bill in 1986. So far as this bill, the bill passed by Rajiv Gandhi government imposed restriction on the freedom of press and hence was widely criticized. After 3 years in 1989, the next president R. Venkatraman set the bill back for reconsideration, but the new national government decided to drop the bill. So that was the kind of things 1988. It should be remembered that. So these are the instances, but we can conclude that there is no veto power, no veto power on constitutional amendment bill. Constitutional amendment bill that has been deprived by 24th Amendment Act 1971. The the president has been deprived of his veto power on the constitutional amendment bill. Hence, he has no option but to assent the bill. So that is to some extent narrowing down the powers of the president in India, and it is his power is squeezed, whatever it may be. But the present scenario is that president is now obliged, or it is obligatory for the president to give his assent to a constitutional amendment bill passed by parliament under Article 368. So these are the kinds of vetoes are exercised, veto powers are exercised by the President of India. He doesn't have qualified veto as enjoyed by the President of America. So qualified veto is that can be overridden by the Parliament, by the Congress, but President does not have qualified veto. But American President has two vetoes. One is pocket veto, another is qualified veto. So under qualified veto, the veto can be overridden by the legislature. So it is also a very insubstantial veto power. And president can have absolute veto over the state bill, as you have noticed that he can have a absolute veto over an state bill. So as veto with respect to state bill legislation, so a bill passed by the legislature can become an act if it receives the assent of the governor or the president in case of bill is reserved for the reconsideration of the president. Then he may reserve the bill for the consideration of the president, the governor, and the veto power of the president can be applicable. Both, all the veto powers can be applicable. Even he can issue absolute veto on money bill also, state money bill reserved for him. That is also a point to be remembered. Okay, so that is the things. So we have discussed the president, that is. So as we have already discussed the veto power of the president and the pardoning power of the president, the okay. And another thing we have to say that with regards to ordinance making power also, he can make an ordinance only when he is satisfied that circumstances exist that render it necessary for to make immediate action. But that in Cooper case 1976, 1970, sorry, in Cooper case, ଗୋଟେ Cooper case ହେଇଥିଲା, in Cooper case, COOPER, Cooper case 1970, the president, the Supreme Court held that the Supreme Court held that president satisfaction for what? For issuing an ordinance, or for issuing an ordinance can be questioned. Satisfaction on issuing an ordinance on promulgation of an ordinance under can be questioned on the ground of malafide. So that is to be remembered also. Okay. So with your cooperation we have completed president. Lot of things we have discussed about president, and in fact the government constitutes a government is invariably invariably revolves around the president. whatever powers, whatever position we have discussed, that are also the powers of the government of India. So it is the president whose name is taken, but it is the prime minister who does the work. So we have discussed the various powers of the government of India in the name of the president, and all these things is possible under the Indian system. Now we shall just have a brief look at the president of India, some facts about them, which will be helpful for prelim-based exams. So Rajendra Prasad was the first president, and in fact he was the longest president of India. He was from Bihar, longest president, longest serving president of India. Dr. Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan, an educationist of international reputation, and he was the second president from 62 to 67. And Zakir Hussain became the third president, and he was the first Muslim president in India, first Muslim president. And he was the first president to die in office. First president to die in office. Okay. So that is the kind of things. Then when he died in office in 69, Barahagiri Bibigiri became the first acting president of India. He was the first acting president. And after Barahagiri became Venkatagiri resigned for after 2 3 months, Muhammad Hidayatullah was the first Chief Justice of India to serve as the acting president of India for a brief period. So he was there only for more than just about 1 month. So he was the first Chief Justice CJI to serve as the acting president of India. Okay. So then Venkatagiri became the fourth president of India, and he served a full term. That is fourth president of India, and he was the first acting president also. Now look at Fakhruddin Ali Ahmad. He is the fifth president of India, and he was the second Muslim president. And the second president to die in office. Second president to die in office. And when he died, B.D. Jati became the acting president for about uh, um, so about 5 months. He served as the acting president of India. Basappa Jatti, B.D. Jatti. Then sixth president became Nilam Sanjeev Reddy. He was the first Lok Sabha speaker first Lok Sabha speaker to become the president, and he was the youngest among them, as it is said. And he was also, after 1956, he served as the first Chief Minister of Andhra Pradesh after 1956 reorganization of states. So Nilam Sanjeev Reddy. Then Gyani Jail Singh was the first Sikh president of India. First Sikh president. He was also had also served as the Chief Minister of Punjab, and he was the first Sikh president. He was the seventh president. R. Venkatraman was the first finance minister to to serve as the president. He was finance minister during Indira Gandhi Indira Gandhi prime ministership. So he became the first finance minister to become the president of India. Eighth president, R. Venkataraman. Shankar Dayal Sharma was the ninth president. He was from Madhya Pradesh, and he had served all the constitutional offices starting from Sarpanch to till president. He became the vice president. He was also the governor. He was also the chief minister. He was also MP, MLA, and also served at the grassroots level. So he's a very you can say he was an omnipresent leader, or a very extensive leader in India. So he was served as he was the chief minister of Madhya Pradesh also, you can say. Then K.R. Narayan is the first Dalit president, first Dalit president. And he was the first vice chancellor of Jawaharlal Nehru University to occupy this highest position. So that is also a kind point to be noted. And he was 10th president of India, and 11th president was PJ Abdul Kalam, first scientist to become the president, and it was also he was the third Muslim president of India, and he was the president when Bajpayee was the prime minister. So Pratibha Devi Singh Patil, the first woman president, he was the 12th president of India from 25th July 2007 to 25th July 2012. Patil served president of India after not becoming the vice president. Then Pranab Mukherjee became the president of India till 2017. Then we have not added, that is 14th president was Ramnath Kovind. Ramnath Kovind. So Ramnath Kovind was the president. And Ramnath Kovind is the second Dalit president of India. He was the second Dalit president. He was the second Dalit president of India, and he was governor. He has served as the governor of Bihar when he became the president. So we have already discussed the points about the president and lot of things about the presidential office. I hope all of you have gone through that. So we can say okay. So that is the things we can have. Okay, Rupal, good afternoon. I've seen just checked you, so we have already uh, discussed the president. Now we shall move to the office of the MCQs on in President of India. Okay, possible questions we shall discuss. That is a point of things also to be remembered. Okay, so now we shall move to the office of the president, MCQs on president. That is there. So option A, the president is elected by Rajya Sabha member and the elected members of state legislative assembly. So we have skipped Lok Sabha. So Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha. So bull. In case of bicameral legislature, the state legislative council and the nominated members of the legislative assemblies of Delhi and Puducherry participate in the election of the president. No. So the answer is neither one nor two. B. Okay. Question number 2. Consider the members following statement. The members of a dissolved assembly can take part in the election of the president if fresh election is not held before presidential election. The members of the dissolved assembly can take part in the election of the president if fresh election is not held before election. So, can take part? No, he cannot take part. Dissolved assembly. If the assembly is dissolved, means the term is finished. A term comes to an end. So he no more remains the MLA of the state. So he cannot take part in that. Vacancy in the electoral college for the presidential election does not affect. Yes, that is wrong. Vacancy in the electoral college means there are suppose 28 states are participating in the states and 2 or 3 union territories are participating. So if out of 28 states, 5 to 5 states assembly are dissolved, 5 states assemblies are dissolved, then that will not affect the office of the president. That will not affect. That means election will be held. So only 2 is the answer. C. Are you getting the point? In case of number 3, in case of impeachment of the president, violation of the Constitution of India, which of the following is correct? Any one of both houses of parliament can charge it. Yes. Resolution of proposal to charge it should be signed by minimum 1/4 of the total members. Yes. If it in Lok Sabha, if it is in Rajya Sabha, then the 1/4 member is required. That is 2 points are correct. Such resolution should be produced after 7 days, that is 14 days. So here the answer is incorrect. Such resolution must be passed by minimum 2/3 majority. Yes. So that is the answer. Answer is C. Not correct. The president shall in respect, question number 4. The president shall in respect of every financial year cause to be laid before the before both the houses of parliament, statement of estimated receipt and expenditure of India for that year. Yes, that is called budget. No demand for grant shall be made except on the recommendation of the president. That is also true. So both B, that is B. Okay. Then question number 5. The election of the president cannot be challenged on the ground that electoral college was incomplete. We have already discussed it. Is correct. If the election of a person as president is declared void by Supreme Court acts done by him before the date of such declaration of the Supreme Court are invalidated and discontinued to remain in force? No, it is not. That is that are not invalidated, that remains in force. President should have the qualification to become a member of Lok Sabha, correct? A person is eligible for the re-election of the president for as many terms as he is. Yes. So answer is B. That means Supreme Court cannot declare the acts done by a president who is removed or whose election is declared void. That means he will not continue as a president. That is a fact. But whatever he has done, or whatever actions or whatever decisions have been made by him will not be invalidated at any cost because he did it as the president of India. So that is the things. So question number answer is B. Then consider the following president: P.B. Giri, Gyani Jal Singh, N. Sanjeeva Reddy. So N. Sanjeeva Reddy was the fifth. P.B. Giri was the fourth president of India, and N. Sanjeeva Reddy was the you can say was the sixth president of India, and Gyani Jal Singh was the seventh president of India, and Shankar Dayal Sharma was there. So 1 3 2 4, 1 3 2 4, I think C. That is correct chronological order. Which of the following is not a ground of vacancy in the office of the president? Not a ground. On expiry of his tenure, by resignation, by impeachment, election declared void by the Election Commission of India, so it is not possible. Sense answer is D. Which of the following motions is moved in Parliament on the President's address? That is motion of thanks, C. That is motion of address, C. So motion of thanks is brought after the president closes his speech. That also determines the strength of the government. 8. The provision of the president office of the president is borrowed from USA Constitution. You can say that. Manner of election of the president is Irish Constitution. Both 1 and 2 are correct. B. So answer is B. Okay. Now, which of the following is not correct regarding veto power of the president? Okay. Veto power, I forgot to tell you that it is consigned on, it is provided under Article 111. Veto power is 111. That is veto power of the president. Of the president. He enjoys no veto power on constitutional amendment bill. He can return an ordinary bill for an indefinite period. He can return money bill for a consideration. No. Because suspensive veto is not applicable in case of money bill. The veto power of the president is his discretionary power. We can say that. Which among the following are correct about President of India? He is head of the Indian state. He is the first citizens. All the executive taken in his name according to Article 53. The answer is D. All of these. Which among the following is not a qualification of the President of India? Okay. You remember the articles that contains qualification, that is 58. So under Article 58, he must be a citizen of India. He must complete 35 years of age. She should qualify for the election as a member of the Rajya Sabha. No, that is Lok Sabha. So that is the wrong answer. So C, answer is C. He should not hold any office of profit. That is right. He should not. Question number 12. The President of India is elected by the people of India indirectly by an electoral college consisting of electoral members of state legislative assembly, states, UTs, elected members of Rajya Sabha, elected members. All of these is the answer. D. So now number C, 3. 13. President's election is held in accordance with proportional representation by means of single transferable vote with secret ballot. C. And you remember that president's method of election is provided under which article? That is 55. Who among the following was the first finance minister of India to become the president of Indian Union? That is R. Venkatraman. He was probably the that is A. He was the eighth president of India, R. Venkatraman. Okay. So the only president elected unopposed and was the youngest president was Neelam Sanjeev Reddy. Yes, he was unelected. So CAC, that you can see, notice. You can see on the screen. So that is question number 15. 15. So we have discussed 15 questions. Yes, Ramaswamy Venkataraman, the 8th president of India. Shankar Dayal Sharma was 9. 10 was Kocheri. Then 16. Question number 16. Who among the following can be issued against, which among the following can be issued against President of India? That is civil proceedings. Civil cases. can be issued after serving 2 months advance, but he cannot be arrested, he cannot be imprisoned, no criminal proceedings can be lodged against him. It is called immunities. Immunities kaun देखो immunities that is I'm writing clearly. Immunities एको immunity कहते president immunities पाए, governor भी immunities पाए under article 61 361. So answer is B. Answer is B. The impeachment proceedings can be initiated against president in which house? In either house. Either house of parliament. Which among the following article is correct? Correct. 54 is not term, 56 is term, 54 is election, 56 is qualification no, 58 election no, 60 oath, ठीक ଅଛି. 60 is oath, but 58 is qualification. 54 तक election नहीं परिवा, 56 term. So kindly take a notice of this. So D. Procedure of impeachment of the president. 1. Pardoning power of the president. 2. Power of president to issue ordinances. 3. Power to incident, that is 4. Consult Supreme Court. Which among the following are the executive powers of the president? Appointment of prime minister, appointment of attorney general, comptroller, auditor general, chairman of the UPSC, chief election commissioner, governors of the state, chairman of the members of finance commission. Okay. तो D करा जाए. Also, chairman finance commission the financial power is not so strictly provided. Which among the following veto is not enjoyed by the president? Qualified veto is not enjoyed by president. I have told you qualified veto is enjoyed by the USA president. Under qualified veto, the president, the veto of the president can be overridden by the legislature, that is Congress. But in India, we never find such kind of vetoes. What does respite mean in terms of powers granted to the president? Respite means in special circumstances you can grant it. Yes, that is B. In presence of special circumstances like pregnancy and disability. So B. Pranab Mukherjee is the 13th president of India. Ramnath Kovind is the 13th president of India. Ramnath Kovind is the 14th president of India. So answer is B. Okay. How many presidents have so far been conferred with Bharat Ratna? That is a good question. There are six presidents have been conferred with. I can name them. That Rajendra Prasad, Rajendra Prasad, he posthumously ପାଇଥିଲେ. ତାପରେ S Radhakrishnan, VB Giri, Zakir Hussain, APJ, Pranab Mukherjee. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There have been how many presidents? Six presidents have been conferred with the prestigious civilian award, highest civilian award. That is okay, and Pranab Mukherjee is the uh, first president, is the first from West Bengal to become the president, you can say. Consider the following president: Zakir Hussain, Bibi Giri, Fakhruddin Ali Ahmad, K. Arnad, who among the following above mentioned president of India have not been Bharat Ratna awardees? তাহলে দুজন have been. So only not win, have not been. So only 3 and 4. D. Bharat Ratna. All right. Okay. So 25. Acha. So these are the questions on president. We have already discussed them. In the next class, we shall be bringing vice president, prime minister, council of minister, and attorney general at a time. We'll cover these parts in a broad manner. So most of you are watching later, therefore we do not have any interaction. But still, any comment you can give me on that chatting, so that I will consider and I will try to fulfill your ambitions. And considering the upcoming prelim examination, those who are staying away from Bani, those who are staying far off places, they can avail these brilliant classes and a completely good initiative or a very unique initiative by Bani to reach you, to reach to the millions or thousands of students who are not in the headquarters. Okay, so kindly avail our classes and do your assessment, compare it with others, and ensure and give your valuable constructive comments. In what way we are inferior to others, in what way we can deliver the best to you. So appreciate the effort of a organization towards helping you, and try to spread the ideas, spread the knowledge, spread the information to all you are connected with, so that people can avail themselves this opportunity and fulfill their career ambitions. Okay, so as we have some times also today, so we shall discuss in the previous class, in the next class we shall discuss the Vice President of India, and with Vice President, Prime Minister, and the Council of Ministers, Attorney General also we shall discuss, and with that we'll complete Union Executive. Then we shall come to the Parliament. Parliament will take some classes, three to four classes, and then we shall proceed to Judiciary, and uh, at all that things from judiciary, from Supreme Court to High Court and district courts. Then we shall move to local self government. In local self government भी ଆମେ details ଯିବାକୁ plan କରୁଛୁ. ତାପରେ constitutional, extra constitutional bodies, political party system, and your also rights issues. We shall cover the entire thing that is required for your both for your prelim and mains. But today, this time we are focusing on prelim based questions answers. So many questions answers are discussed. So I shall be bringing new and updated questions with each chapter. Don't worry that. But still, if you have any comment to say, anything you just want to maintain, or anything you want to advise or give your comment for the betterment of all, we will be there. We'll hear from you. We'll definitely hear from you. Okay, that is the things. So kindly watch our classes, and what I told you, ki give your valuable comments, give some suggestions, so that we can upgrade it. Okay. So as you are watching later, there are many views. Uh, yes, Rupali, you are right. Thank you for being with me. Okay. So next class I shall bring for you Vice President, and we shall continue in this spirit. But please give me your valuable comments. Thank you very much to all of you.